Like, would you say, like, don't sell your company without a broker?
This started for me as a side hustle with him too. It started as a side hustle. And before you know, we started making money.
What's the biggest marketing scam that contractors fall for?
I always say businesses fail for two reasons, process or people.
Truth be told, a lot of business owners have addictive personalities, right?
No matter who you put there is going to sink.
What's the difference between junk lead and good lead?
They're cheap. They want to get the cheapest lead, but so they rather get volume, and they don't know how to work volume.
Everyone loves Aunt Susie, but when you start doing 10, 20, 30 roofs a week, Aunt Susie may still work for the company, but she's no longer a bookkeeper.
I found some of the best media buyers. They're not in America. You got to find these people. They're like needles in a haystack, and they're worth every single penny when you find those.
What do you want now?
100.
100 million? Right, guys, we have guests from Florida. We have 20 inches of snow and very cold day, actually. Sorry about that. But check this out. I usually don't fall in love with someone else's last name, but Ed Payne is, I think he has the coolest last name. And wait until you hear the name of his podcast. What is it?
Pain Points. Spelled just like my last name, P-A-I-N.
Genius. I love being in Pain Cave. I was there this morning, and I love the name. And David Stodolak. So you guys business partners?
Correct. Yeah, we have a lead generation company called Connection Holdings. We have a virtual staffing company called Roofs in a Box as well. And what else? I think is that the.
What are you guys known for? What's your claim to fame?
Probably lead generation, performance marketing. It's a little different than typical marketing because we're tied to KPIs. It's almost like saying that we're tied into the people use words like cost of acquisition. CAC is fine, but it's really about ad ratio, right? It's like if it costs me $500 to get a $1,000 roofing lead, it's 50% of my ad ratio is on marketing spend. So what we do that's a little bit different in the lead generation space is it's a partnership. Like Dave always likes to say, we like to do win-wins. So lead generation, what we do is we're tied with big box kind of companies, and we're tied to the number. Like if I go to you and say, hey, if your average roof job is $20,000, would you pay me $500 for a guaranteed sale? So we reverse engineer the numbers to tie into the numbers. So our claim to fame really is getting into these big dollar spaces and partner with these end clients. So that's kind of what got us in.
I just came back from Alex Hermosi 2 days workshop, and I've heard the word CAC probably like 200 times.
Yeah.
Like one of the most
Overplayed.
important metric, right? But what other metric is important in your opinion? So CAC is one. What's another one?
Cost per appointment. How much does it cost to generate? Because obviously, sales is a numbers game, right? So you got to get in front of more. You got to get inside the house, or cost per sit. You got to get in front of the house to actually close the deal. So that's very important too. And then that's where you can see the difference between a really good sales org versus a mediocre sales org. I mean, we were big. Our also big claim of fame was solar. We blew up in solar. We were top 5 in the nation in solar lead generation. We worked with SunPro before they got bought out for $1 billion by ADT Home Security, Momentum Solar, all these big names, Sunrun. So the point is that Momentum was very aggressive in terms of when they will call the lead within 7 seconds. You didn't pick up the phone, they call you again. They were borderline harassing. That's what you got to do. I mean, you pay for the damn lead, and then they will go to the home. They wanted each sales rep, outside sales rep, to have 4 sits per day. If they know they had 4 sits, they just close 1, right? So they had their numbers down. So I think cost per sit, cost per contact, there's so many variables when it comes to it, you know. And we know our leads are listen, we're not saying our leads are the best leads in the world, but they're scalable leads. They're good. We know how they're sourced. So when you put them with the right sales organization, you marry them, you're going to make money. And it's the recipe's there. It's happening.
So at the peak of the solar industry, when we have all the big players dominating all the markets, hiring hundreds of sales reps per year, what was CAC? What was customer acquisition cost in that industry at the peak? Because I feel like they were printing money. So like I've seen numbers, how much sales reps are making, how much financial companies making. That's where money is made, right? Like you have $80,000 job where $30,000 goes to finance company, $8,000 goes to sales rep. How much does that customer cost?
It's kind of an autonomous by market. So the bigger guys, it ranges anywhere from what they're willing to pay is up to $3,000 CAC.
Okay.
If you're an EPC, but the problem, like he was saying, is that if I give a lead, let's say I give a lead to Momentum, for lack of a better word, and I gave a lead to Sunrun, I can give the same lead, both coming from Meta, and get two bipolar opposite CACs. And so kind of like what he's saying, there's an earlier matrix to it. There's one thing to what you're willing to pay per acquisition, but the other thing is why is the same lead going to two of the big buyers, bipolar opposite CACs, right? It's because their speed of lead, how they nourish the lead, how they follow up with the lead, sales.
Why so many contractors hate Meta leads? Is it because of the follow-up? Would you agree that contractors don't like Facebook because the speed to lead sucks?
This is what I'll say. And I talked to someone about this yesterday. I talked to a mortgage company about this yesterday. There's Facebook lead forms. Lead forms are they're the worst. They're like, I don't want to say they're trash, but everything's a numbers game. If you get 100 lead form leads, they're going to cost you $8 to $15 to generate that lead, but it's already pre-populated. Your phone number will not be updated. I haven't updated my information on Facebook in 10 years, so I don't know if I changed my number. So the phone numbers are going to be bad. There's no verification, so that's like a plain vanilla, crappy lead. Now, that you can generate volume with that, and you can generate a lot of people, but they're not going to be high intent. It comes down to intent. Now, you can really get a good media buyer that can target, hyper-target, and they can do phone validation. That lead's now going to cost you $60 a lead. The issue is that a lot of home improvement companies, I hate to say it, they're cheap. They want to get the cheapest lead, but so they rather get volume, and they don't know how to work volume. They don't realize that if you pay for a premium lead, you're going to have better results in the long term, and your reps aren't going to be worn down. So I think it's Meta works. It's just you have to have the right media buyer, and that's the issue. These guys it's a black box lead generation for a lot of home improvement companies, right? I mean, and I think that's the issue.
It's also depends on your back end, like he's saying. If you got Meta leads and it's 15% appointment set rate, so for every 100 leads, I'm going to get 15 appointments, versus like a Google ad or YouTube or something else where it's like 40% set rate. It's not that the price per lead is higher for Google, but your CAC can actually be cheaper on Meta. But do you have the back end to nurture these leads, and do you have the right cadences? So I think it's a combination of, is it the right type of Meta? Because Meta can fall off like a ski jump overnight, right? Changing ads, people copying ads, whatnot. But it's also, how do you nourish the leads? What early indicators are your matrix to keep that lead source on or off? And I think marketing's tough for small business owners. I really do. I think they just don't understand how to nurture it.
How do you get as close to Google intent as possible on social media? Because we all know that Google, the reason they dominate is because intent is there. People do Google search, they're looking for something. Now you see the ad or whatever the form, and your close rate going to be super high. What kind of Facebook products or Meta products can compete with that these days?
You're talking about similar acquisition or similar set of
like as close as possible to intent, because everybody knows, call people 10 minutes later, it's like I don't remember doing it. Yeah, you just did.
Yeah, 10 seconds. You got to be within 10 seconds, 7 seconds.
Speed of lead,
Speedily, yeah. I was going to say, that's when it comes down to any good organization, right? And what's great about what Ed's going to be doing, pain points, that most of these podcasts are all rah-rah. We live in Miami now. It's like all money. There's $100 bills, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, right? That's all the flash. But what's the real substance? That no one sees the pain you go through before you get to that point, right? So the point is that we get lost in the sauce when it comes to trying to get to the point. But the thing is that you got to have, any good organization has to have people in their lanes. You need to have I think an owner tries to do a Google ad campaign themselves or a Meta ad, they can't do it, or they hire someone they know. You need to get a real seasoned media buyer. There's people that we travel all over the world. We've been to Dubai numerous times. We've been all over Bangkok. I found some of the best media buyers. They're not in America. They're in Romania. There's some guys in South America. You got to find these people. They're like needles in a haystack, and they're worth every single penny when you find those. And you create structured deals.
It's all about data.
It's all about the
more
data.
More important than oil.
Yeah, it is, and they know how to extrapolate. They know how to target the data. They create these. It's all about, to answer your question, it's all about targeting on Facebook. They know how to target properly. They know which age groups, which demo, and they test. They split test. They're like, I hate to say it, they're almost like these geeks, and they don't mind calling them geeks. They want to be in front of the computer 3 hours a day. I mean, all like maybe a small team, all day long looking at it's like a video game. It's almost like stocks, up and down. They'll put $100 this campaign, 100 here. They'll do 30 different campaigns. And now with AI, they'll do 100 campaigns simultaneously, and they'll lose money in 95% of them. But when they find that 1 to 5%, that's when they press the gas and they start spending 10,000, 100,000 a day. So it's really finding the right media buyer. And I think that's the thing that a lot of home improvement companies don't understand. It's like a whole different world, and they think there's a shortcut. There is no shortcut. You gotta pay up and you gotta test. Right? Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, Meta's hard because it's like he's saying, you got to be an expert in it. Because we have Meta campaigns. Like if you only have one, then if Facebook has shut down your ads. Now what? Right? Your gas is off.
Yeah, that's a whole other.
And then other people plagiarize content that actually works. So then everyone in the industry, whether it works or not, we've had ads that sucked, and then we see our ads mirrored.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, whoa, why are everyone's doing the same thing? So you have to be diversified on Meta, and like he's saying, the lookalike audiences, what's working, what's not, who's your target audience, what's the messaging. There's so much that goes into Meta by vertical, and it's also autonomous by region. You know, what we do in Miami won't work in Minnesota, right? We call it tiers, right? There's like 5 different tiers of quality, but also 5 different tiers of maybe buyers as well. Who's your target?
So Meta have changed so much in the past 5 years. It used to be where I remember we could target people attending a conference. Like, hey, give me everybody who's flying to this town and at Expo. And literally you would be walking, IRE and seeing my ads.
Geofencing, yeah.
Yeah, geofencing, we would find you, right? Like Meta keep removing those things. Yeah. And I feel like Meta actually have all the data points there, like as far as like being in business of data, they already won. Google already 100%. Won. But I feel like they given us, even if you're big players, like they keep changing rules. I don't want to get you in trouble, but would you say what they teach is not always the best practice?
Yeah, you're
yeah. I mean, I would agree. I mean, it's like anything else, right? They teach you things in college. But you talked about going to all these trade shows, right? What did you say about
two days of conference equals semester in college? Like to me, like you go to busy conference, it's all relevant today's information because every speaker prepared for weeks. He's in the trenches for now, right? Like for me, I get enough for next 3-4 months, which is like semester in college. Like literally, like it's your exam. If you actually attend and take notes.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it is with Meta or any platform, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Newsbreak, whatever it is that they're going to give you a platform, the basics, and then you got to figure it out, right? And then you have to go to the conferences, you have to study. The best media buyers I know, they spent at least 6 figures on going to these events, and they network with other geek media buyers, and they learn little tricks to the algorithm, little like maybe the time of the day to do an ad, or they do crazy. I mean, they used to do crazy stuff. Like they might target in America for like a roofing buyer nationwide, but they would do some ads in Mexico, and there's no Mexico buyers, but the Mexican stuff would lower the overall price. Like there's ways to kind of like finesse the system. So that's what it comes down to. You can't be ultra successful by just playing by the, I hate to say it, by playing rules. You gotta like bend the rules a little and walk the line.
The problem I have is they giving you this, hey, do this, and if you're gonna do it, it's not gonna work because maybe it's like old recommendation or whatever, and it comes from them. I feel like sometimes even people who work there, they're not in your best interest. They'll take your money. I mean, you can spend, Google will take your money. I mean, right now there's 20 inches of snow on the ground, right? I can go spend $1 million. Actually, Google will not take your money. I'll take it back. Google will limit you, right? Like, not Google My Business, but what is it? LSA, right? Like, you can offer Google more money, but there is no demand. They're not going to take it. Yeah. So the point is you can't spend $1 million with Google, but with Meta you can.
Easily. Yeah.
They don't care if it's in the Philippines, like little girls watching your roofing videos. They'll charge you.
It's true.
Well, let me ask you the same question, throw it back at you, right? Because think about even the last 6 months of Meta. How much have you changed your marketing techniques if you're in Meta?
You just have to do more, like more split testing, more like
exactly.
What's changing is like the more you throw at it, like the algorithm is actually the best it's ever been. So those few that perform well, same as YouTube, right? Like if you upload 100 videos on YouTube, you will see that certain videos are doing better. Like let's say top 20, like 80-20 rule applies to everything, right? So now, how do we make more of these top 20? I'll give you an example with like this YouTube channel. So we made a video and we were so proud of it. It was so good. Jake right here, he's actually filmed it, and the video tanked. And the video was this: like I went to university to major in history. I love history, right? So we did a history of roofing. So we actually filmed it like in 3 different locations. Like how did they build roofs in Egypt back like 4,000 years ago, like 3,000 years, like super cool. Took us 3 days to script, cool B-roll. I mean, we studied, we like put all information out, and I thought it's gonna be like, you know, Discovery Channel, whatever. Nobody cares. Nobody cares how they built roofs 4,000 years ago. I can fall asleep and watch that video before I go to sleep. Nobody cares. That video has maybe, I don't know, like it got like 1,000 views in the first week, which is like tank for us. And then the very next week or the very next video, have this guy out of Houston, Texas, I think, Jay-Z Dominguez, I believe. And I remember because we compared too. So he called me out on Facebook. He's like, I'm charging $285 and I'm profitable and all the roofing companies are greedy. And I'm like, do you want to do a podcast about it? He's like, sure. So we go on Zoom and it's just conversation on the Zoom. He's presenting to me his price point and how he's making money. And I'm just arguing it's not enough money to be profitable. And he's going to, like, I'm like, where's the money for insurance? Where's the money for accidents? Right? So just very, you know, industry conversation. That video gets like 10,000 views in the first like 24 hours. Everybody's debating. Everybody's commenting. But Igor calls me, he's like, Dmitry, do you even need us? Like, you can do it by yourself. You can interview people, upload it, and you get all the views, right? So the question to you as a creator, you know, what's going to be your next video? Are you going to debate another person, do another podcast on, you know, topic that everybody talks about, or you're going to try to entertain people with something that you think is cool? Yeah. And sometimes you think what this is cool and it just tanks. So focus groups are big, and Meta is a giant focus group. Exactly. So they take your ads, they show it to a whole bunch of people, and it's like, people like this, they hate this, and that's what it is.
It reminded me of that one thing. I know you mentor a mutual friend of ours called Rory. And I remember he put up this one thing he was showing a roof video, and it was something about an electrician, how the wiring was done. And it was a basic video, but an electrician came on there and started like shaming him for like not doing the wiring right or connected correctly or some sort of code. And the content wasn't even that great, but what got all the views was people fighting in the background about electrical work. So it's almost like the drama attracted everyone versus the content of the actual
because
video.
It's engagement. And I absolutely hate it about social media in general. Like our best videos on, like the best performing videos on social media, it was always the one divided audience. We have one where up north in Canada, we covered the news. And the news were the contractor sued the homeowner over 1-star review. The caveat was it was not a homeowner, it was a tenant. So tenant was in a house, and contractors was doing the work and was rude to them or whatever the case is. And tenants, like, you don't treat people like that. And they gave them, husband and wife gave them 1-star review because contractor is horrible. And contractor's attitude was like, you're just a tenant. I don't owe you anything. I work on the house, like, right? The problem is, like, think about this. Like, if you stay in a hotel and you have, like, I don't know, water breaks and plumber comes in and he's like curses you, like, you know, like rude, and you see the company name, you're probably gonna give them, people give 1-star reviews for like bad driving on the highway, right? Anything, right? You see professional and you go to that business and you just like, hey, you don't do that, right? So in this case, contractor is like, I'm big, you're small, here's $100,000 lawsuit, right? But next thing is the homeowner, somehow it gets to the media, news company airs the story, and now everybody hates the contractor, and contractor getting hundreds of negative reviews over it, right? Yeah. So we covered the story, and in the comments, contractors like, you know, oh, they're just Karens, you know, screw this tenant, they have no right to do it, and all the homeowners like, yeah, horrible contractor, right? And now they're fighting. So now, because it's a divide, algorithm pushes it to the top. Yeah. Do I like it? No. I would rather people algorithm push positive content, right? Something that's, you know, you do, like, I don't know, history of roofing, something educational, but it does not.
I want to watch it now. Send me the link.
but it just doesn't pick up by algorithm.
Right.
So the question I have for you is, do we create then more, what's your approach to ads? Do we create more dividing or controversial ads, or like what?
I think it just depends. Like I remember like recently on Meta, like we had this one thing and we're looking at our audience, like in Southern Arizona, for instance, a lot of our buying were women. And I had like this manly side and this, and like you're saying, I know what I like. I'm testosterone, rah, 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 let's go, right? And it's, but our audience was women for the most part. So then we put a silly ad of a raccoon jumping in, talking about stealing money and like whatever, but it's a cute little raccoon and gets a bunch of feeds, right? I think a lot of it isn't so much about like the drama, yes, but know your audience, right? Like if you look on your CRM, who's making the buying decisions, what's your target? So this is but it's autonomous by market, right? Not every market's the same. You know, when we're out in South Dakota, it's a good old boys club, right? It's just a different target, no matter what the market is. So I think that's the main thing. Yes, drama sells, but it's also, I think the old static imagery, like you're saying, like these old belief systems on what works doesn't work anymore, right? If you're just putting stills or carousels or like everyone hearing the same thing doesn't work. I think you just have to be creative so you can be drama, which is fine, I guess, but we haven't really done that in at least not in the roofing space or in the brick and mortars that I own. But I've noticed that, like you said, it's kind of funny. What I like isn't what my audience likes, and I am like, okay, I'm outvoted. Know your audience.
Let's talk about your business a little bit more and what's happening now. Like, I want to hear the story how, like, the first business, or how did you scale, and what industries you are in today, and what happened to solar, and do you think solar will come back? So you went from solar to roofing, and like
that's it. You just asked me 30 questions.
Yeah. I did, but it was intentional. Yeah. I want to hear like, hey, we were doing this, we pivot, and we scaled this. Like, I want to hear.
Yeah, that's tough because we're doing a lot of stuff together on the lead gen side, but then he's doing more on the roofing side too. So I'll explain, and then we'll talk about. I'll start it off. So
did you take a dip with the solar companies as well?
100%. Yeah, no, but we were about to get acquired in, what was it, 2023? We signed with private equity. We were in the earnings quality of earnings process, multi 8 figures, right? And we had competitors that we were doing much bigger numbers than them, and they got bought out for $40-60 million. It was just,
how did that go? Like, did they lose money in the next few years?
Those people got crushed. The people that would have bought us out would have been they would have been left holding a bag, right? And not that we knew that, no one knew it. Here's what I learned. I went to college at NYU during the .com bubble. I liked the stock markets. I loved all the financial markets. You got to sell when things are hot. When people are popping bottles, get the hell out. When people are crying, you get in. So I was at
that's smart.
Yeah, SPI, now it's called RE Plus. It was 40,000 people in Las Vegas in 2022. It was like September. President Biden passed the Inflation Reduction Act, and everyone's happy. Everyone's popping bottles. We're like, oh, we have 10 more years. The Inflation Reduction Act, remember that?
Thanks, Biden.
Yeah, the Inflation Reduction Act, it extended the federal tax credits for solar 30% to 2032. So we're like, this is freaking fantastic. We got 10 more years of this crap. I'm not this crap, this stuff. This is phenomenal, right? And then literally, I mean, if you look at the stock charts, Wall Street's always right. That was where the peak. People started selling, and then those stocks never recovered. Enphase stock went from 75 cents to 306. They make Indian solar inverters. That was near the top. One of the companies that was our competitors sold to Enphase. They got some sweet deal, a lot of cash up front. They got stock options when the stock was 100. They went to 300. So there were companies that we were doing much better than that they sold for a whole lot more money. So the point I'm trying to say is that was a time to get out. Interest rates went up, which made solar not as economically feasible for most of the country. That was one big thing because they were relying on financing.
Did it punch you in the face that you did not sell? Do you
we've gone through that. Yeah.
It's kind of it's a mixed bag, right? Because it's like, do we want to exit? Because the turn that was about to come, no one could have expected, even in our industry. Yeah. And did we want to exit and let this company that bought us get hold with something that was a declining product? And the answer is no, right? Because we have integrity, right? We don't want to just sell something just to say we exit and then the company we sold goes to crap in a handbasket. But at the same time, it's like what you don't know, right? You don't know. Like for us, we would like he was talking about selling on the way up. I think a lot of companies like, we're going to keep growing. But what we didn't know, like we were talking about earlier, when the buyout process happens, when they do the forensics, it's based on a rolling calendar year. We thought it was physical. So on a fiscal year, we were up, but we had our first downturn ever. So that gave us an 8 multiplier with an 80% upfront and a 1-year earnout to a 6 multiplier just by waiting those 3 months.
Wow.
And so for us, what I
So
learned.
that was a deal breaker for you?
Well, for us, we thought we can rebuild it. Like
Yeah.
a lot of what we don't know, once again, is that now's the time.
Looking back, would you sell it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but and I think we would have
3 months earlier, though.
Yeah, there's brokers we could have hired. We decided to do a lot on our own, and that would have helped us collapse time frames and not. That would have sped up the
I'm
process.
so glad you said it because
Yeah.
I've seen it so many times. I actually work with an amazing broker.
Yeah.
And man, when you have someone holding your hand, I've seen a few people, they got a first deal and changed broker. I have one guy, he changed broker and he said like second broker cost him like 300K, but get him like almost double amount.
Exactly.
I'm talking about millions.
Yeah.
And I feel like would you say like don't sell your company without a broker in this space?
At this time, yes.
Yeah, now we know, and you live and you learn. I mean, when these buyout offers, what helped us is that we made Inc. 5000 magazine. We were making it every single year. We did 3 years in a row. We actually had 1 year where 2 companies made it. Our
top
data
200,
company made 214. Our solar company made 187. And that was, people were looking to buy us out. At first I thought this is BS, but then we started entertaining. I started meeting some of these people, and then Ed came into the fold. I'm like, wow, they really want to buy us out. And then we actually have a picture from 3 years ago where we got the actual offer for like, what was it, 25 or $30 million. And we looked at each other in the eye. It's almost like we fell in love. We were about to start crying, man. Like we got a picture, there's tears in our eyes. Like, wow, this is really happening, man. Like, you know, because this started for me as a side hustle and him too. It started as a side hustle. Yeah. We're just trying to make more money for our family. I think your wife was pregnant. My wife was pregnant. This is before we knew each other. And before you know, we started making money. I'm like, who the hell would want to buy?
How did you guys meet?
At a trade show.
At a trade show.
August 2017 at Affiliate
So
Summit East.
from meeting for the first time to partnering in a business,
Yeah.
how much time did it take?
We did okay business for like about 2 years.
A few thousand here, a few thousand there. Yeah, in data.
Not like anything crazy. And then all of a sudden we started doing like 5-6 figure months, weeks, and like profits some months.
Yeah.
And then we liked each other. And like I said, it wasn't until we get into business, and this is the other thing, pick your partners. But back up a little bit more on, so we just gelled right away. We had integrity, we had alignment, we're family men. We both had the same hustle, similar past, that kind of stuff. But I think the thing that I don't know now, which is why I like pain points, is like people need to know the end in mind, right? With like I always say, like with Socrates, like says like you can't go into war not knowing what it means to win, right? We can go to Afghanistan, but why are we there? If you don't define what it means to win, you're never going to win. Right. And the same thing in business. I think what he said is like, it's true. Like most small business owners get into business. Like I just don't want to work for the man. I want to make my own path, but they don't think of the end. Nowadays, when I start businesses, I start with the end in mind. What's my number? You got to know your number, reverse engineer it. What's the roadmap to get there? It's a different mindset now. When I think when small business gets in, it's great. You're like the 1%, you're making okay money. You're paving your own path, creating your own destiny. But you never know what it meant to win. And so when I ask people, when I partner with them, or I mentor them, or I teach them, first thing I ever ask them is, what's your number, right? And now let's reverse engineer that, and how are you going to get that number, right? And it's different reasons. If it's just, let's say your number's $1 million, just for simple math's sake, and you have a roofing company, and you're you're a sole proprietor, you're a one-man show doing $3 million in sales. A couple people, Bondo in the back job, you're a top producer, you're doing $3 million in storm chasing. Well, the problem in that is with no back end, no systems, no process, and you're making $3 million and maybe take home 800,000 potentially, right? The issue in that is companies that come in and offer you 1.5 EBITDA, maybe there's not a real company there. Yeah. But that same number, if I do $1 million a year, with 100,000 a year profit with systems and processes, and I get an 8 multiplier, right? It's almost the same work, a lot different mindset. So now when you start talking about the 8 to 12 multiplier, it's a lot, you don't have to hit that high number the same way. It's really just the multiplier that you're trying to exit. But there's 2 different ways to go about the same number. And if you don't come in with that number, you have no idea what it means to win, right? So I think that was our thing too, is that we were successful, making millions a year, 0.1% of America is probably doing what we were doing. But we never defined what it meant to win. Now we know what we want. So it's a little different mindset coming into
What do you
business.
want now?
100.
100 million?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's there too. I was at an event in Austin the other day, and this guy said something. He said only 0.04% of business, 0.4% make it to the 8 figures in revenue, and I was shocked. I thought it'd be. I mean, I didn't expect it to be like 10%. I thought maybe it'd be 2 to 3%, because I think in our circle, so many people are hitting those numbers, right? And we're talking about revenue. We're not talking about profit. Profit is a whole different story. But I feel like we're like in this circle where it's like we talked about this before. Like you elevate, right, with your group. So now it's like, how do you elevate to get to the when we know people that are doing 9 figures too, right? And there are other business owners that have done it in our industry. So how do we get there? What do we have to do to get there? And then also, we leaned out a lot. We are heavy as hell. Like that year, you don't mind if I talk the numbers, right? We did like 4.2 million in net profit. We probably pissed away at least $500,000, if not $1 million. We would go to these events, bring 10 people with us, hotel rooms for everybody, throw these crazy parties, $5,000 dinner for 4 people, like stupid stuff, man. You know, like now looking back, it's stupid, but like we could have spent half of that money, had the same result. So now we're a lot leaner, we're meaner, we're a lot smarter. We know what we're doing. Yeah, leaner and meaner, you know, and I think that helped us a lot. And now you have AI.
Does it come with experience?
Comes with experience. We wouldn't have. We didn't know. We're like, yeah, you know, we got to do a dog and pony show. Hire this guy, spend $150. Another thing, everyone that we hired over like $100,000, they all sucked. Yeah. I should not.
I think the other thing that that's different too is that we always one of the things I always ask companies I mentor, and I love this exercise. Someone did it to me and it was a kick in the teeth. And I'm saying, okay, if I want to create, let's just say I do 10 million a year in roofing, and they said, if you were going to hire me as a consultant, or I was going to hire you as a consultant, how would you set up the org chart? And what's kind of funny is that what most small business do is they manipulate the org chart to fit the skill sets they have, right? They're not hiring to fit the skill set in which they're looking for. And so what happens is that your companies evolve and change. So does the people that fit those seats. They don't have the right people. And I think for us, there's 2 things that we had to learn the hard way. Is one, is it the right person for the right seat? And then secondly, do we have the right process? I always say businesses fail for 2 reasons, process or people. And you can't even blame the people if you don't have the right processes in play. No matter who you put there is going to sink. But adversely, if you have the process and this person's not making it, and I think what happens, we pay people a certain amount, which happened to us, so we think they need to be in the C-suite or at least the VP level. And they're
based on pay.
Based on pay, but they're like 2 degrees past their pay grade, right? It's like but we're paying them, so we keep them in this role because we're just wasting money on them, and instead of putting the right person in there and moving them on to something different. Some of it's on loyalty, some of it's whatever, but we had to learn that as you scale and grow, so does the business model, right? It's not the same. What you started off, I always say when Aunt Susie is your bookkeeper when you're doing 1 roof a week, and everyone loves Aunt Susie. You know what I mean? But when you start doing 10, 20, 30 roofs a week, and Susie's not even admin, you know, and Susie may still work for the company, but she's no longer a bookkeeper, right? So it's just those things of as you grow and evolve, so does your process, your mindset, and your team, unfortunately.
100%. To your point about numbers, I think only 7% of businesses in America ever make it to 1 million.
Wow.
7%. And then if you look at and that's what I tell roofers all the time, because when I meet arrogant roofer who is in that hustle culture, I work so hard, I deserve this, I deserve that, and just brag about their hard work, but you know you're not working hard. I mean, if you do let's say $2 million, I mean, if you look at the numbers, the only reason you're successful is because you live in the freaking greatest country on earth with the greatest buying power. Go to freaking Colombia and try to sell people $20,000 roof. Go to Russia, go to Ukraine, go to half of the world, right?
Yeah.
The only reason you're successful, you have a high ticket item and you have people when I started in this business, I would be driving home, you have 7, 8 checks in your pocket. I was like, why people are trusting me 7, 10, 20,000, right?
Deposits.
Freaking, 30-year-old Russian who barely speaks English did nice presentation. People here's the check.
Yeah.
I mean, go with your hustle and hard work. Another country, try to make it, right?
Yeah.
So we have it easy. And then guess what? Sometimes they'll steal the check or don't do the job, and they're not gonna even get sued because people don't want to go through court system, and they're like, we count our losses and stuff, right? So you get away with murder in this industry.
Yeah.
But 7% make $1 million. In the roofing, is probably 50-60% of people make $1 million. I mean, we have smaller players, but $1 million a year, it's 100 jobs at $10,000. I mean, it's 2 jobs a week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard not to meet that bare minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's almost like you have to not be trying.
Yeah, but if you go try to open a restaurant and do $1 million of selling sandwiches.
Oh, you're not.
That's true. Yeah.
Restaurants and coffee. I mean, what is it? You don't even make profit for 3 years.
Oh yeah.
You're in negative numbers.
I was at Patrick Bet-David conference, and one of the best conferences I've ever attended. So for 3 days we're learning and stuff, and I have a guy. So we pretty much they give you this task like business case studies. And you turn around, and a group of 5-6 business owners, you talk. So I turn around, and there's a guy behind me, been in Orlando, Florida, 36 years in restaurant business. He's like, what are you guys doing? Like 36 years? And he's like, how do you like? He's like, I hate it. I would never do it again. The worst business ever possible. And we're like, why? So for 2 days, this guy just rented how bad. And he's like, here's this thing happened. That happened. I'm like, why don't you get out if it's so bad? It's like I have like 20 employees and I'm barely making any money, and you always think it's gonna change. It never changes. I mean, restaurant is the hardest business. In China, they have this saying like, if you hate someone, like your enemy, wish them to have a restaurant.
So my uncle was in concept restaurants. He actually did fairly well. He would never let me do it. He said no. I loved him. I wanted him to mentor me. I thought he was the best business owner ever. He said, Eddie, there's no way I'm gonna let you follow me in my footsteps, and I'm grateful for that.
So for our audience, in one sentence, what do you do for the contractors?
I think we create win-wins. It's we have business solutions that meet you.
He speaks like a politician. He said something and he did not say anything. What does that mean?
You said one sentence.
What do you actually do for the contractors? We create win-wins.
I teach them.
That's what Biden would say.
Basically, everything that I've used. Let me put this in 2 different companies. On Roofs in a Box, for instance, everything that I've used to scale, I offer the same solutions to my competition. And that's there's no secret sauce. That's process, lead nurturing, AI.
So it's
staffing,
not just the lead, but everything around.
Everything around
to close the job.
Roofs in a Box, man. It's like, how did I open up 11 states in 1 year? Never been on a damn roof in my life, right? It's systems, process, and scale. The recipe is the recipe. And what's funny about this space for me is that it's so billions, if not $1 trillion industry. Nobody does it the same. And I'm like, why, right? But for me, that's what I believe, at least in the Roofs in a Box, that what we do. In Connection Holdings, I think what we do is we create, I think it's lead generation, it's performance marketing. We're tied to the KPI. That's what we do in that. There's multiple companies, so it's hard to say which one.
What's the difference between junk lead and good lead?
I think a junk lead's like the one, it's all about the intent. What is their intent? It's almost like you're trying to picking up someone at a bar. I mean, I don't even know if these young kids do that anymore. I don't think they go to bars. But back in the day, if I'm trying to pick up a date or whatever, I go up 10 girls, try to get their phone number, maybe 1 or 2, depending how I look that day, how I smell, how my composure, right? But if they're coming to me, you're 80% there, right? So it's about the intent. What's the intent? If I'm going cold to somebody, that's a whole different intent. If they're coming to me, that's going to be much higher. It depends on the intent of the lead. So with like Facebook lead forms are very low intent. Someone's just clicking a button and it might be a very misleading ad. So it comes down to the intent of the lead. Is the lead high intent? A pay-per-call lead. Someone sees your ad and they call. There's more urgency there. You're going to pay more for a pay-per-call lead than a lead form because that person's calling you. A lead form might call you, like I said before, $8 to $15, depending on the state. A pay-per-call lead, an inbound call is going to cost you $100, right? But it's going to take maybe 50 to 100 of those lead forms to turn into a sale, whereas it might take 3 to 4 of the pay-per-calls to turn into a sale. So you're looking at 300, 400 calls acquisition with pay-per-call versus 500 to 800, and it's more laborious. You have to make all these calls rather than taking a warm call. So it comes out to the intent of the lead, and then Google's going to always have the highest intent, right? Because people they're searching. So Google, YouTube, they're going to have high intent. Facebook's probably going to be somewhere more like mid intent, right? Then you have TikTok's doing well for a lot of home improvement. Bathroom companies are using TikTok. Some of them are using very successful certain media buyers. There's Newsbreak, which has an older 45 plus female audience, and females are the ones that make the decisions at the end of the day, right? They want to do something at the house, and like they create urgency on the husband, they get it done. So it's knowing the platforms, it's knowing the audience, but this is stuff that I travel 300 times in the last 2-3 years, and I go to these shows, I go to these conferences, and I learn, I hear these, I work with these people, but you got to work with the people that can help you get there. So to answer your question, that's Connection Holdings. On our side, we help roofing, home improvement, solar companies grow exponentially with our lead generation process.
Is roofing majority of your portfolio now?
It's turning into that way.
Yeah, bathroom too.
Bathroom, yeah.
Siding's been decent.
Yeah.
Gutters?
Gutters, we just got signed Leaf. They just acquired one of our clients, Erie Roofing. I think it was a $4 billion deal, so we're getting them going on gutters too right now.
Leaf filter?
Yeah, Leaf filter.
I do not like you.
Really?
I do not
Well, we just started with them, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I'll say it on the record. I hate Leaf filter with a passion. I hate their sales system.
Okay, I don't know their sales system. Yeah.
Well, their sales system is very simple. Like you start here and you drop
Way
all the
up,
way
yeah.
down.
Really?
So you'll start at $40, and then your bottom, like at the end, you'll accept 12, and then at that price, which is still super competitive, but sales guy does not even get any commissions. So I think it's such a, like they get so much hate for it, but they would not change it. But how do you start at 40? Like if you come to my house and say, hey, it's gonna cost you like $12,000, and at the end you're ready to take 3, like for me, like there's like.
Oh,
why
so
did
they
you
keep drop selling what you do. They
yeah,
just they want to leave.
Yeah,
with
why
something.
did you try at 12,000? Why didn't you give me a good price right away?
Got it.
Yeah.
That's what they do, and so that's one major complaint, because I run a lot of stories on them. And second one is they target older people, and it's such a, like, I mean, I've have caregivers calling me. It's like, hey, Dmitry, my 85-year-old mom just signed up, like, $12,000 gutter deal. She has one small house. She trusted them. It's like she does not need 50. It's more than her roof.
Yeah.
So that's my problem.
Speaking of politics, I'll try not to say names, but I do, as owning a roofing company, though, I love going against some of the competition, because it's like even our good, better, best prices, their bottom price a lot of times is 2-3 times our best price, and it's nothing special. Like when you start talking about some of these private equity kind of roofing companies, the numbers start outrageous.
I'm having a hard time. I don't think I have any private equities companies on directory.com. Like I used to have, like once you sell, like I don't want that partnership, because usually it is the highest price, a lot of cancellations and a lot of complaints, and for me it's like I don't know if I can recommend it. Like I'm not hating on private equity. There's a place on the market for them, and some of them are very different than others, but usually you're turning into pleasing your investors and next roll up wherever. So you have to keep raising your prices, which I don't believe in being the cheapest, but there's limits to, there's levels to this game.
There's when you talk about 3-4 times, that's a ridiculous level. That's
very,
robbery. Yeah.
I would recommend with it. So what should contractors understand about age data versus real-time data and leads? Explain those two buckets.
Do you want to crack it?
Yeah, it's funny. I just had a conversation with a mortgage company yesterday, and this company likes age data, and I feel like age is like we love age data. I mean, when I met Ed had a company connecting the dots. We still have the company. We merged, and I would buy age data from him for my solar clients, and then I'm more on the live lead side, real time exclusive lead side. He was age, but we were doing so much business together. Like we might as well merge. We'll have the whole kit and caboodle, right? We'll have the real-time side and the age side. But we're top 2 in the country in age data for solar, home improvement, and mortgage at the time. But anyway, I was talking to a mortgage company yesterday. Not a lot of people working age leads anymore, but I like age leads. I think age leads, if you work them properly, is going to be your best pound-for-pound lead. You're getting the best cost acquisition. If the line in the sand was $2,000 for solar cost acquisition, we had clients doing $200 to $500 cost acquisition on age leads, and it's because the lead it's at a discounted price. You're getting this lead, instead of getting a real-time lead for $40-$50, you can get an age lead for 30 cents to $2.
Where are they coming from?
So basically what we do is we wait about 30 days out, and we broker leads from some of the biggest of affiliates in the space. And so what we do is we obviously the first place buyers, you want to give them at least a month to work the lead. but like like speed to lead, how you nurture the lead, how you follow up on the lead. So the difference, back to the first question, but that's where we get it from. So some of it's internal, most of it's brokered. People hire us because we got a big buyer network. We have ticket systems. It's automated. But it comes down to CPA or CAC. Most people in the lead gen space call it CPA, not CAC. But the point being is, like, if I have $1 a lead, let's say for an old roofing lead, and let's say I'm getting 3% appointment rate, but then now I'm basically spent $3 for 3 leads, right? Versus if I get 30% on Google.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? If to get 3 leads, or get three appointments, I have to buy maybe 10 leads. So now I get $300, $100 an appointment versus $3 an appointment. The difference, though, you still have additional cogs you got to factor in. Do you have a call center? Do you have proper call cadences? Do you have a call center manager? So it's a lot more work to generate the lead, but your cost of acquisition is always going to be the cheapest. The problem with age, you can't sit there and just ground and pound. It'd be like going through bad meta leads. Eventually you just stop following up, right? Because you're like, this is a waste of time. I'm waiting for the next one. So aged, you got to have the right cadences for it. And you have to be a decent size to make it materialize, right? So most small business or contractors like the real time intent lead, but if you have the back end and the process for it, age is always your cheapest cost of acquisition by far.
You have to be built for it. And a lot of times what happens, I know a lot of, going back to solar or home improvement, if someone just started their company and they're cost conscious, they don't have a lot of money to throw at Facebook or Google, they can start off with age leads, but you need to have hard-nosed salespeople, old school salespeople that are able to ground and pound. There's some guys using AI. AI isn't where it needs to be to really be as effective as you want, but some people are using AI to vet the lead and then transfer it to someone on their team. But age usually works well to get off the ground, to get off the ground, get some money, reinvest that money into your sales floor growing, and then into like Meta leads or Google leads, as we've done that. We've been so instrumental in some of these companies growing tremendously. I mean, with Mark Jones, who sold ADT for sold Sunpro for over $1 billion. I did an interview with him. He thanked us. Like, we wouldn't have been able to sell if it wasn't for you guys. They bought every lead from us. They bought age leads. They bought Spanish leads. They bought co-registration. They bought transfers, inbound calls. We had 8 different lead types in solar. They bought them all as they were growing, because they were trying to hit these numbers. So the point is that they were equipped for it. I went to Louisiana 2018 where they had their call center. They had 30 people in there. Fast forward 2 years later, they had 300 people in there, and they had people in South America, Central America calling. They had 500 people they had to feed in the call center. So they needed age leads. They needed every lead to hit their numbers, right? And they eventually exited. It's funny because I was talking to someone yesterday. They had such a voracious appetite. They were just buying everything under the sun. For us, that's good.
They were chasing top line.
They were chasing top line, So for us, we didn't know what was going on.
So what happened to them?
They exited for $825 million to ADT Home Security. The funny thing is, I shouldn't say it's funny, ADT wrote it off like a year later because they bought at the top. Actually, when Sunpro exited, that was right around the Biden IRA, right a few months before that. That was the top.
That was the peak.
That was the peak, man. And ADT bought at the top. Their stock went down, and they just wrote the thing off, which
someone made a good dollar, and someone probably got fired later for this.
Exactly. Well, that's business, man. It's risk reward, right? I mean, at the time, those solar looked like the best thing in the world. Clean energy, solar news, Biden, interest rates were still low. Everything was like, and then everything went the other way. But now, you mentioned before, what about the future? With this stuff going on in Iran, I have work. I know a lot of Wall Street guys that trade billions of dollars a day. They think nuclear and solar you're gonna see more money come back to solar. There's gonna be pressure on the government. The American consumer is strapped. They can't afford shit. Doesn't matter where. Sorry, they can't afford anything. Doesn't matter where you live. The price of everything's going through the roof. Electric costs are gonna keep going higher. Solar, I think, is gonna make a comeback. We're seeing some growth back in solar again, which is why we never got out of it. And I'm excited for it. So I think we're gonna have some. It's gonna come. It's gonna have its day in the sun again.
Yeah, Tony Robbins says this other thing. I sound like I'm a Tony Robbins fanatic, but I'm really not. But he talks about the seasonality of business.
Fourth time he's quoting him.
Well, this is actually
He's got a tattoo, right?
Yeah. Well, my first launch pad in business was actually when I went there because it asked me, "Are you a business owner or a business operator?" And it changed my mindset. There's 4 things I took away, and those are the 4 things I talk about. The rest of it I can kind of discard. But he talks about the seasonality of business, right? He talks about infant, toddler, teenage, mature. And when you start a business, think of it like an infant, man. You're running into things. You got to put wall socket things so you don't get electrocuted. You got to make sure you're eating, your food's chopped up and whatever, right? and then your toddler, you start walking around, but it's almost more scary. And then you're a teenager, and teenagers where things are fun. You're going to make some weird decisions. You're going to do whatever, but the seasonality of business, I love the teenage. I love this growth launch pad. I love this passion and the change in the industry. And then you get mature, right? Like insurance is a mature market, right? Now it could be the seasonality of the business type. Like roofing's a mature business, but it's a teenage type of atmosphere when you first start. And so most of the companies that I love and we're in and whatever is around the teenage. I think what you have to be able to do as a business owner is recognize it when it's becoming mature or when it's becoming stabilized or when there's a downturn, right? I think you said it earlier. You think like, hey, I'm going to keep on to this thing and it's going to change, or you're holding on to this glory days of how you had this 1 month of great profit, which may have been a fluke, thinking that's going to come back, and it never does. I think what we have to do as business owners a lot of time is navigate those downturns, right? Recognize the trends and not be so proud when do we get out of the way, or when do we start consolidating, or when do we cut back, or when do we let go of people. But I feel like in most business, and that's what I love about this space in general, marketing is mature now, but roofing still feels like a teenage kind of business because it's never really been matured yet.
Let's switch to different direction. Another topic I have for you I want to discuss is call centers. Well, not call centers, remote work. So you have a lot of people a lot of companies building virtual teams, offshore support. What works and what does not? Like the whole, virtual assistant versus hiring someone in office, having someone in Philippines, Mexico. I know you guys have teams as well. So like when is a good idea? Like, I do $1 million a year. Is it good to hire someone, or should I hire someone in office first and then start?
You want my personal opinion?
Yes.
I'm really big on this right now. And this is my hardest part with small business owners. We have a staffing company, and most business owners come to me saying, we want a virtual assistant. And they don't need a virtual assistant. They may be usually the business owner on a small business is the best salesperson. It just happens that way, right? Yep. They have the most drive, the most hunger. It's back against the wall. But I pose another question to these business owners. I'm like, okay, you want an assistant. Do you have systems? Do you have processes? And they usually don't. They're the salesperson, they're the project manager, they're setting up the appointment, they're working with insurance or sending out invoices, or their wife is. And then, so what happens then is if I hire an assistant to, let's say, do my emails, sends out invoices, do some of the minutia, the mundane work that I don't want to do, as soon as I hire the next person, let's say I get to 3 million, and now I need a project manager, or now I need to train someone on an Xactimate. Now I got to train. What they really need is an operations manager that's going to train what the business owner isn't good at. So the first hire for me the best growth matrix I had, besides the sales side of it and the project manager, I need an ops manager to create, not an ops manager, but like almost like a VP of ops or a COO. In roofing, it's not that complicated, but it's what this person now trains my Xactimate specialist, creates automation, creates replication, creates systems for my bookkeeper and my CFO so they can get reporting quickly. This person automates everything, and now every time I onboard someone new, they're training that entire org flow, right? But since people don't think the end in mind, they're thinking, I just have this hot mess going on right now. How do I take some stuff off my plate? And that's most small business. But it's not the right question, because now the business owner is technically training every position because he or she's trying to hire everyone as they grow, which isn't the right mentality, the end in mind, right? So for me, my best hires is this mid-level, high-level operations person that understands SOPs and everything I just mentioned to take that back-end stress off of the best salesperson on the org. So that's usually when you're smaller, that's when I say to start, but you have to be around 1-2 million a year to even think about that, and most business owners think of it as an expense. So they're trying to hire this cheap person. The other thing that I feel I need is there's 3 different kinds of virtual staff. There's like copy, paste, repeat, like circle, round ball into round slot, and that's what they do, the mundane. order takers are easy. For me, it's that tier 2, tier 3 kind of person that's usually better for me. But I also like nearshore versus overseas. I mean, we have Philippine call centers. We have there's a place for all this stuff. But I like nearshore because they're more westernized. You know, because most of these other countries, you got the 1% and then 99% catering to them, right? In small business, it's not like that. It's texting, it's calling, it's chasing insurance. It's a lot more. You need people to think and be nimble and be able to pivot. That's small business. It's not the mundane. It's multiple tasks, at least when you're smaller. So until you get big enough where you have an org flow, probably about the 5 to 10 million range, and you know you're hiring for very specific roles on the org chart, I think that's what most small business owners need, but they just don't know it yet.
Anything to add?
Yeah, and I think that at the end of the day, what we learned, I mean, we were everything we worked touched for like a good 2 to 3 years. We had like the golden touch. We got into insurance with a company called Senior Direct Marketing. That was our DBA, home improvement, home direct marketing. We had connecting the dots. We started a call center in South Carolina, and then we eventually had people in Colombia as well, Bogota. Everything was making money for us. But that's when you gotta, I think business owners get sugar highs. And there's, truth be told, a lot of business owners have addictive personalities, right? And that's one of the reasons for their success, but it's also a reason for the downfall too, in the sense that you think you're freaking invisible, right? And I think that that happened definitely with me. We were just making so much money, top line money, and the profits were good. We'd had times where we'd have like someone who owes $250,000 and we didn't even notice it. And then we have to fight them. Like there's all this stuff. Like we're like printing so much money that we will leak money and not realize it. But that's when you got to slow the hell down, and you have to have people watching these things. And I think I grew up, you know, I'm 46, and I always remember like these big companies. I remember there was a picture where we have 60 people on our team, and I'm like, oh, we're successful. We are way too heavy. We didn't need 60 people. We probably needed 20, 25. So that's where virtual staffing comes into play, where you know you can get. No disrespect to anyone. You know, this is the greatest nation in the world, but I do feel like there's sometimes you get hungry people overseas. I mean, you have my mother's an immigrant. She came from Venezuela, right? My dad came from Polish background, and I learned my work ethic from my mom. I'm never going to lose that work ethic. She was making $6 an hour, and so I went to one of the best business schools in the world because she busted her ass, and I saw that work ethic. But the point I'm trying to say that you can get virtual staffing. So if you can pay someone 60, 80 grand in America, right? And roll the dice, you know, most of the time it's not going to work. Or you can get somebody for a fraction that costs overseas, 10, 15,000, and they're going to run laps around that person. They're going to be our for roofs in the box. I think we're like 80% stick rate. Where I think our stick rate in America is probably 20%, right? Not just maybe the hiring process was all messed up, but at the end of the day, this helps you collapse time frames. You save money. If you're going to make a mistake, I'd rather make a $15,000 mistake than a $60,000 mistake. You know what I'm saying? So it really comes down to being lean. And extracting as much productivity as you can from each employee, right? And I think that we were so hot for a while that everything we touched worked. Or some of it could have been luck too, because solar was so hot, right? We were great salespeople. We had great people that believed in us, but we were too heavy at the time. So I think that with virtual staffing, you can take risks, more calculated risks. You don't have to risk so much money. You have to hire someone for $100,000. We have an MBA that runs the roofs in a box. She's from the Ukraine, and she lives in Colombia, right?
She's from Czech.
From Czech, sorry.
Yeah, but she's our COO for all of our roofing companies.
She's amazing.
All 11 states. She runs the entire operations for me.
Someone like her, she gets 6X in America, but she has to be in Colombia or whatever reason. But there's talented people there, right? And they have their own version of the American dream in their country, and they want to help you grow, and they're proud to help you grow. Yeah. Right. So I think that's my 2 cents on that.
Well, we have definitely entitlement problem in the United States, and I absolutely hate because I see it all the time. I actually replaced 2 years ago $100,000 employee with a $25,000 employee overseas. The problem was not the employee. Like I mean, I'll give you $200,000. The value has to be equal.
Correct.
Like, but the problem we see here is people come in and it's like, hey, here's what I did there. Like, I don't care what you did before. I don't care how much money you make. What are you gonna do to me? When it's me, what do you have? Like, what do you have to offer? You know, I want benefits, I want a truck, I want this, I want to like, okay, I get it. Now, what are you going to bring to me? Yeah. Here's what I need. I need 20 signups per month. Can you do it?
Correct.
And then they go and like come back, oh, nobody wants to sign up. Well, figure it out. I gave you the problem to solve. Yeah. And you're not fixing it, but you still want 100K. And then guess what? I gave the problem to another employee in another country for quarter of the pay. Boom, 15 signups. So
exactly.
This guy who gets 100K cannot fix the problem, and has all ideas in the world, but this gal, she can. Nothing to do with the country. Everything to do with the
Exactly. That's really what it comes down to.
And but even like what you both said the same thing in your own way. It's like for 25K, if you need 10 signups hypothetically, and even if she does 2.5 or 3, it's still it's still better than the 100K, because the cost of acquisition is what you have in mind. I need this performance.
Well, it's value. It's what
value
business
problem.
gets.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, if someone launched a roofing company tomorrow, how would you build their lead generation system, like from scratch? Like it's just brand new company. What do you do? First, second, third.
Are you talking about like people with capital to start up, or like most people like chucking a truck going to scale?
I have $10,000 to my name.
10,000. Get a job? No, I'm teasing.
Real answer.
I've done this, so I mean, it's just what I would do initially for lead generation. It's speed to lead, right? It's lead nurturing. Nowadays, you're a little bit luckier because you can hire a company to do it, right? Like we have an AI tech stack that does lead nurturing. It calls, it sets in, it has booking appointments, it does whatever. Now AI with AGI, it's even better. You can have a brain that does the entire process for you now, right? It's not even talking about like the singular functionality that AI had like a year ago or even 3 to 6 months ago. AGI is here now. But so what I would do is hire a company that has the resources, and for pennies on the dollar, you have your entire back end. You got a 7-second lead response. It does the follow up. It SMSs. It calls. It books the appointment. And then for me, that's what I would do if I was a big company or small, because it eliminates the human error. But like most importantly, speed to lead. If you're going to buy a $50 Google lead hypothetically, or $50 cost per form, or a $10 click or a $5 click, if you're a small business owner and somebody fills out a form submittal, you can't be on a roof giving a quote. You have to be able to respond to it. So if you're on a limited budget, either have an assistant or at least have the process to nurture the lead. I would do AI.
Yeah, I think a combination of AI, age leads. You gotta operate within your budget, right? For $10,000, you're not going to get a lot of Facebook leads. It's not going to be enough of a sample size, right? You honestly probably need 30, 50,000. So for 10,000, I get a portion of age leads, maybe $2,000 worth of age leads. You'd have someone work those leads. You could get like 2 or 3 agents that can do that, and then turn that 2,000 into 4,000, and then keep increasing, go from 2,000 to 3,000 to 5,000, and eventually, once you have enough money, then you could diversify and add Meta leads, add Google leads, right? Hire. It really comes down to the manager, the sales manager. I think that's going back to call centers. Any good call center I've seen, they have a rock star manager, someone with charisma, someone that's throwing chairs, that's full of piss and vinegar, that can motivate people, right? That's the key, and I think that's kind of like a dying art right now. It's hard to find leaders. So if you have a leader that can really motivate, whether maybe you're the leader as a business owner, and you have to be stationed near the call center because they're your sales engine, right? So I think that you got to operate on your budget, get some. And age leads are hard to come, but get a good source of the age leads. I mean, we have age leads, and that's a plug, but we know our leads work when they work properly. But at the end of the day, you need to have a good trusted age data source, get a cheap cost of acquisition, and just keep growing that. And then I've seen this happen from student loan consolidation to solar to roofing to info products. Like this is the formula that works, and success leaves clues, and this works when applied properly.
And here's the other thing too. This is hard because it also depends on the model. Like for me, I like retail better. It's much more predictable than waiting on God.
Of course,
right? And it's also the you're talking about like when my DSO is 10 days, right? From the time I sell to the time I collect money, from the time the roof's installed. For insurance, it's 67 to 70 days. Some states even longer, depending on like who the main carriers are, or if there's a big disaster. So you're talking a cash flow issue now. I'm waiting 70 days to get paid, versus retail where I'm getting maximum 10 days. Actually, right now, and I'm averaging about 8 days now. We brought our DSO down by 2 because our speed to lead, our close, our acquisition. Now all of a sudden I got cash flow and I can reinvest. So when you talk about $10,000, it's hard, and I know you were giving me just a random dart at the board, but the idea of it is if I have something like that, I would probably buy retail for cash flow, or you're the best sales guy to start. So, but you got to have, if you're just door knocking and that's how your initial growth is going to be, but right away you need to talk to someone like you, really, with experience. And this is what I love about your experience, is like you're not talking about what you think, you've done it. So you need to talk to somebody that knows the industry, because everyone has ideas or philosophies, but who has done it successfully? And that's a problem with sales reps. You get these kids out of college trying to tell a business owner how to run a business. They've never done anything, right? Or politicians making laws that never owned a business, right? Talk to somebody that understands and you trust, because they have really nothing to gain, right? When you mentor people, you do it because you just love mentoring people, right? There's one, and you were talking about how you even grew, right? You grew organically by, hey, this is for free and for fun. There's no motive, right? So when you got someone like that in your corner, utilize it, because they don't gain anything from you. Right?
Do you think that contractors who rely solely on referrals are falling behind? Because so many contractors these days, like, I don't do anything, it's word of mouth, word of mouth, word of mouth. The problem is they're still slow, they still have time or months, so their season of slow is way longer than contractors who actually advertise. Do you think they're falling behind and they're going to struggle, or there's always room for contractors who just do so-called good work?
I think this day and age, if you do good work, you're ahead. You said two things earlier. You live in America, and if you just do halfway decent work, you're gonna accidentally fall into business.
Just answer your phone call and be on time.
That's 90%. Yeah,
that's it. Right. I think it just depends on your goal. Right. If you're just chucking a truck and you're remember what it meant to win. You just don't want to work for the man. You want to make 100, 200,000 a year. You want to just live in like comfortable life. If that's your motive, there's nothing wrong with that, right? The problem is if it does get tight or it does get harder or there is a squeeze, you only have one model. And so like what we've learned in business is you have to diversify. The reason I have 18 companies is because I need to diversify, right? I can't put all my eggs in one basket. Something's not working. What do I do next? Like we're talking about Solar Coaster, right? If we're in the performance marketing, but we're in home services now. We expanded. We didn't expand. We'd be crippled. We were just relying on solar. You'd have different guests today.
Yeah.
But the point though is that I think for most business owners, especially people like us, we diversify. We're thinking big picture. I just depends on the motive, but I don't think they're falling behind. But I do think if there's downturns, they don't have a plan B.
And I think they're capped too. We're talking about how do you go from only 7% of companies make it to $1 million, 0.04% make it to eight figures, and I don't know what the figure is for 9 or 10, but you're going to be capped, right? And I think that a lot of the real entrepreneurs, they want to grow. They don't want to go backwards, right? They want to grow, and you gotta, if you're just doing referrals, that's one source of marketing. You need to have 8 different sources. Look at that Sunpro. Sunpro was doing. It started in a garage in 2009, one person, the president, right? Then they had 2,000 people working for them. They went out selling for $1 billion, and they were doing $1 billion in revenue a year. They had referrals. They had 8 different lead types. They did every marketing channel, radio, TV. They did everything because they wanted to grow and grow and grow. And so I'm not saying you have to do everything, but it was one step at a time. It took me years to get them to buy Spanish leads, and then when they bought, because they weren't ready for it at the time. And then they were finally ready for it. So the point is that, referrals would get you, like age leads. I was saying, you need something to get you off the ground and then reinvest that money into Facebook or this or that. And first, you're probably going to lose money. You're probably going to throw away $25,000, $50,000 or whatever that. But if you figure it out and you don't give up, you hire the right people, then you'll turn the corner. It's just, they talk about the dip. You got to get through that dip to get back up, right? So that's the point. You need to diversify. You diversify, and you have someone in their lane managing those marketing channels, manage your call center, managing your social media. That's how you get to the next level. So it's a matter of where do you want to go. If you're comfortable with that model, like you said, all goodness to you. But I think most entrepreneurs aren't going to be comfortable with that model. They're going to want to keep growing, and you need to hire the right people. And you need to explore those different channels. Yeah.
All right. I have last 6 questions. We'll answer a question. Questions from audience, and we'll call it a day. This one a rapid fire, but you can take time if you want to expand a little bit. What's the biggest marketing scam that contractors fall for?
I think just the cost per lead web forms, because I think that one right there is so all over the place results, and it could break a company. You talk about $10,000, prepaying for $3,000 in leads for a guy that only has $10,000 in the pocket. And then it's trash coming in. How do you know what to buy? Where do you know where to allocate your budget? Where do you get these fly-by-night companies? They may be good, they may be under the radar, but if you're a newer company, do you want to waste money with a proven system, some kid, some startup that has no idea what's going on. I think for me, that's what I've seen a lot. And the difference with my companies is we have budgets to test and waste money. But if you don't have it, man, you really gotta be mindful where your dollar goes as a small business.
Most overrated marketing channel right now?
Tough question. Meta.
Meta is overrated?
I mean, you got to start there, but you can't just rely on Meta. It's too saturated. Everyone's swimming in the same pool. You got to explore and do other marketing channels. Check out TikTok, Google, and Newsbreak, Rumble. There's all sorts. And Snapchat. 20 million homeowners are on Snapchat. I'm on a panel tomorrow with Snapchat. I mean, you got to test other sources out. You can't, if you're doing everything everyone else is doing, you're going to get the same results. You got to try different things. Everyone's on Meta.
Love it. Underrated way contractors can get leads.
Underrated?
Yeah, underrated.
You know what's kind of crazy is, and I'm not just saying this like to blow smoke, it's just I always stayed away from like Angie's List kind of models and whatever, like the platform that you have and those kind of referral type of platforms, those aggregate type of platforms. Mm-hmm. It's actually my cheapest cost of acquisition going to those type of platforms. Mm-hmm. And because for me, I'm keep thinking Google, whatever, if you're talking about CAC, it's actually...
If they have homeowners, like their trust level there is very high. Angie's List used to be so good because people just trust.
Yeah.
People trust someone else. They trust recommendations.
100%. Yeah. So I think for me, it's opened my eyes recently because I have more like this scale model. Like how do I grow national companies? Now, I'm not thinking regional players. And so it's weird coming from going from that mindset from our lead gen company to, I guess, small business. Even though I'm large in roofing, I'm not like, but I have to consolidate my effort to a local channel. So I think that's my biggest eye opener this year.
How do you feel about door knocking? Is it dead, dying? Is it still alive? Is it trending? Future of door knocking? Where are you with the door knocking?
I love it. For me personally, I think it's the cheapest cost of acquisition if you can find the right hunters. And I think the problem is that in areas that it's saturated, it's like they can pitch you. You know what I mean? Like if we door knock in Denver, for instance, you knock on the door for a roof, the homeowner will sell you on a roof, right? Because they've been pitched so many times. You know, I like these tier 2, tier 3 marketplaces for door knocking because they're like unsaturated. I mean, it's not as watered down. But I love door knocking. I think it's the cheapest cost of acquisition. It's just hard to scale it. It's hard to find.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. Before I said age leads is the cheapest cost of acquisition. That's telephonically or digitally. But door knocking, all day long. Momentum Solar, Sun Pro. Success leads clues. Follow what these companies did, and it was a door knock, and they never gave up on door knocking. They kept that going while they had, and then now you had the door knocking division. This division, like
it's a separate division.
Yeah,
it's not the. Yeah. You know where I'm getting success lately is door knocking for retail. That's been a shocking for me because it's a different market.
Who are you talking about?
My roofing companies.
Oh, okay.
Door knocking for retail. I always did the storm market, and then like I have certain areas that haven't been hit. So it's just finding maintenance plans, different things that have actually worked for my companies, which is shocking. I always thought storm chasing, but retail is actually where we're getting our biggest lift right now, even off season.
Oh, I believe that, 100%. Last question: best business book or resource that you would recommend?
Oh my God, that's a great question. And what you go after?
Mine's Traction.
Traction?
Yeah, EOS. That's all my companies run on it. I had to pick a lane, but it's simplified process. Everyone's talking the same language. Everyone's rowing the same direction. It's what I teach. It's what I mentor other companies on. So for me, that's my best.
You know what? This I don't know if we use a business book motivation. The magic of thinking big, that changed me a lot. I mean, I think a lot of times we're limited in our belief systems. We can only hit this level or that level, and that book had a big impact on me. You know, now I feel like I might be past. I should probably listen to it again because I feel like it always, but I listened to that. I'm like, why am I thinking this way? I mean, we went to Tony Robbins in 2019. I mean, that's before we merged. I think I was doing 1.2 million in revenue.
That's where he got his tattoo?
Yeah, that's where he got the tattoo.
He introduced me.
It was in Vegas, so you know how they go.
Still talking about it.
1.2 million in revenue. And then I was like, you know what, there's a company that's doing 15 million a year in solar and leads. And then someone's like, why can't you be bigger than them? I'm like, yeah, you know what, I could be bigger than them. And then they went out of business a year later. We wanted to be bigger than them. We more than 10x, like 15x the business, right? So it's that belief system. And that's one thing I got out of that was like, I'm thinking too small here. I got to think bigger. So as business owners, I think we all got to think bigger.
What's yours?
It's gonna be I don't have any, like, for me everything is a moment. I don't recommend books. I don't actually read a lot of books. I only read and find something, like if I have a problem today, like I'm gonna go and find who has the answer for me. It's like I don't believe in just, oh, like, you have to read like book a week. Like I've done it before. I've read tons of books, but today, this day and time, if I don't have a problem, I can relate. Like for example, so let's say, I don't know. Let's say I have a turnover in my company. Like everybody's leaving. I'm like, I would actually Google, search, read a book on how to be better leader so your employees don't leave. How to be a better boss, right? So for me, if my employees love me today and the last employee quit 2 years ago, I'm like, I'm decent boss. Like I'm not gonna. I mean, I still can listen to people on leadership and stuff, but it's not my problem today. But it was day in my life where I thought I'm a bad leader, and I studied. I read like 5 books on leadership. I wrote whatever. Right today, like I'm scaling Facebook. I'm scaling my organization. I went to Harmozy last week because I feel like he has answers to the problems I'm trying to solve today.
Right.
Because I'm actually adding a lot of A players, and I have to build culture for those A players, like executive team. I'm like, who has it? Who've done it? I'm like, Hermosa did. Yeah. So I went to him, spent 2 days, fixed that problem, like recruiting A players, and I don't know. Like for me, that's the problem today. Yeah. So that's if I'm trying to lose weight, I'll study it like how to lose weight. If I'm trying to compete, So it's problem and who has the answer for me.
Yeah. I agree. Sense. I love that, especially in the nowadays and age. Is you have too much everything.
Yeah. Like you can't just read open a book just for opening a book.
Yep.
It has to be talking to me like today. If I have a marriage problem, I'll go read a book on marriage or get a concert or listen to a podcast on that topic.
Right.
If I have a problem with my son, I literally will study how to raise a boy. I don't know.
No.
But I like what you said though, because you're going to the source, right? Who's successful at it?
Exactly.
Right? I'm not going to go to my friend that's been divorced 5 times asking him about marital problems, right? It's you want to go somebody that has a long-lasting marriage, healthy marriage, something that's sexy to you.
100%. Lastly, we talked about $10,000. If you have a $10,000, where would you spend it? Like if you start a business, like you wouldn't give someone $3K for questionable leads, but where would you spend it on?
$10,000. I think I would do just like I said. Once I have a model, I would, because I'm going to be the best sales guy in any organization. Besides this guy, he's a better sales guy than me. It's hard to say. I said it on public record. No, but for me, I need somebody to catch to make my job easier. So for my first hire, wouldn't be all 10,000. Maybe it's 60,000 a year, but it'd be half of that. So I have 2 months worth of whatever. I'd hire someone to make my job easy, because I think the hardest thing for me is that I think for me the reason I do so much as a business owner is trust. I don't trust people are going to do it the same way I would, right? But once you trust your team and you said it, the right people, and you can kind of back off and let them do. If I have somebody in operations catching my stuff, I can run. And I think as a business owner, I was saying this at the last podcast, someone like him, like you don't want to stop an entrepreneur, a visionary running 1 million miles an hour. Don't stop them from running. That's their superpower. Run. The problem is, do you have somebody catching your stuff on the back end? So for me, if I had 10,000 in my name, knowing what I'm capable of in sales, I'd hire someone to back me up.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys so much, and have a safe flight home. How's the weather? Like your flight was delayed last night because of the...
Yeah, there's nationwide issues. I know people were canceled in California. I don't know what was going on. You should have seen the airport of Fort Lauderdale was delayed, canceled, all this stuff going on.
Atlanta was shut down for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that just caused everything.
I think today's better. I know people are making it to Miami right now. I got some alerts earlier.
Yeah.
So hopefully today's good. He's going to Denver. I'm going to Miami.
Well, thank you so much for flying in. This was
awesome.
This was great.
And
thanks for having us.
Do yours next.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you.